All right. Reasons why it will not matter that you work a lot more. First is the students are worth it. Teaching is amazing. If you're going through this program because you really want to be a teacher, when you are a teacher, you're going to love it enough that you're going to want to work those extra hours. Knowledge is power. Mr. Ramey will tell you that again next week when he's here. That's his morning slogan that we hear every morning. Knowledge is power. The satisfaction that comes from that single moment of success. I was telling Dr. Carpenter before you guys got here, I work with, in a Title I school, I have 16 students in my classroom right now, and only 4 of those are not ESOL. And those kids want to learn so much, and when they do, they're so happy that that moment of success makes it all worth it. And then you can make a difference. It may not seem like one person can make a difference, but one person can make a difference. And Sarah knows that, don't you? One person can make a difference. Students need teachers who want to be teaching them. There are a lot of teachers that are teaching because they want to be off in the summer. There's a lot of teachers that are teaching because they thought it was something easy to do. These students need teachers who want to teach. So if you're in it because you want to teach, stick it out. It's worth it. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you before I go is we are actually building. This one's not finished because the year's not finished, of course, but we're building memory books for our students. And what we've done is throughout the year, when we have created projects that we hang out in the hallway, we've kept it and we've bound it in this book so that when these kids go home at the end of the year, all their stuff is not thrown in the trash. Their parents have a book that they can flip through and remember their kindergarten year. Like, for instance, this goes with Go Away, the Green Monster. And what they did was we used this as math and reading. We integrated instruction to this. How old they were is the number of hairs on their head. Which book they liked best chose the color of their nose. The shape of their mouth had to do with like their favorite part of the story. And then we analyzed our data. So they also used tally marks and graphs and things like that. So it tied math in. Some other things that are in here. My parapros worked so hard, bless her heart, making these books. I cannot mess it up. Have you seen the bat flying by the moon? Tiptoe, tiptoe, Halloween is soon. Their sight words were the and is for this. We did our number 8 spiders so that they could learn that spiders have 8 legs, which is integrating science, but also so that they could learn the number 8. During Halloween week, we were learning numbers 1 to 5. Well, kids don't necessarily want to learn numbers 1 to 5, but if you make a skeleton in our class dressed up as pirates for book character day, and this is a picture of him with his pirates, you know. And then here, this is what kindergarten writing looks like. It's probably not what the writing you're used to seeing, but I'm thankful for my baby. He has a baby brother, and so that's what he's thankful for. And then we put the feathers in order on the turkey as well. So, and I mean, if y'all want to look at this, they were our elves for Christmas, and we took a ride on the Polar Express. And there's other things in here. You're welcome to flip through it. And then on the back, we just put their kindergarten certificate saying that they've made it through kindergarten, and a little poem that tells them for every ending there's a new beginning, and that they're going to do great in school. So, y'all want to look at that. Y'all have any questions? I know
What's the head?
Oh, I didn't talk about my head. Thank you for asking that. This is reading workshop, which I said we do at Chicopee, and my students, not every classroom does this, but my students are kindergarten, so they have to have a visual. They have to know what you're talking about. So we tell them that in your brain there's reading power. And so our reading power comes from these puzzle pieces. And at the beginning of the year, there are no puzzle pieces on the head. And then when we learn to make connections, either text-to-text, text-to-self, or text-to-world connections, once they have mastered that, or once they understand what it is, we add a puzzle piece. And then same thing with questions. Like, you know, when you read a book, good readers ask questions as they read. We teach our students that as they're reading, they need to ask questions about what they're reading. So asking questions is another. And then inferring, well, actually Visualize is next. This is like creating your mental pictures, and I think you probably had to do a project maybe with Dr. Carpenter where you had to do like speaking, listening, viewing, visually representing. This is basically that in a nutshell. But they visualize and then infer. And you guys may be thinking, infer, kindergarten? I don't think so. But kindergarten can infer. And like for example, I have these inference cards. I just keep them on a little loop, but this is how I teach kids how to infer. Like this one says, while we roared down the tracks, we could feel the bounce and sway of the car. The seats were not very comfortable, and the people around were talking. I closed my eyes, and the noises got louder. Can you kind of infer what you're doing there? Yes, maybe no. Same thing as like there was one that the little girl went into the room. She sat in one chair and it was too big. She sat in one chair and it was too small. She sat in another chair and it was just right. They inferred that we were talking about Goldilocks and differences in books as well. And when they do, they will look back and say, hey, I'm using my reading power. They're very excited about it. And then synthesize is what we're actually doing right now, which is where they become part of the book. They like response to literature, I guess is probably what you guys would call it. It's how they feel about the book, what they would do in the book. And so this is just a visual for them to see a good way to be a good reader. I also didn't talk about this, but I have a kindergarten class of 16 with 11 boys. And so having 11 boys is a little difficult sometimes because they are a little rambunctious. But if I pull this out, my boys are immediately quiet, they're in their seat and they're ready to go. And what we do with this is I just like maybe write a math problem on the board, or when I say a math problem, I would write like a grid, and I would have math problems in all the grids, or sight words on the board and sight word in each grid. And then they line up, they get to shoot the gun, whichever square it lands in, they either solve the math problem or say the sight word. And it gets my boys motivated. I know guns are probably not good for school. That's why I bought a big orange clear one instead of one that looked real. But they really enjoy that. So anything you can do to keep your kids motivated. Any more questions?
Just a question about the gun. There's a student who brought a hand little toy, like for G.I. Joe, who was suspended from my wife's school.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know if you could actually do that.
Okay. Well, I haven't had an issue with it so far. I have great administration, so I'm sure they would be, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. I haven't had a problem with it. I've used it with 5th grade and kindergarten, and everybody knows about it, so hopefully it's okay, but it may be something at some schools that you would not, be able to do.
You got your associate's and your bachelor's here?
I did. I started fresh at an old age and went straight through all 4 years here. I enjoyed it very much too.
Explain what it's like to describe everything you've described to us to parents of those kids when there's a parent meeting, a PTA meeting.
Well, for me, at PTA meeting, it's a little bit different because only 4 of my students' parents speak English. So at a PTA meeting at my school, I have a translator. But what we do is we split things up into sections. And so, like for instance, at our last PTA meeting, I talked about sidewalk talk. I know that sounds funny, but we broke things up into different sections and basically told them how they could help their children.